Hey guys, welcome to this week's episode of the Happiest Hour on Earth. Tonight, we are going to be discussing kind of what it is that makes Disney so magical. There's so many things in the park that just spark the magic in you, so we're going to go over some of those things with you guys. Can't wait to get started on this. So tonight we have some snacks and drinks. We went a little bit easy this week on our Disney snacks and drinks. Tonight we have some Mickey ice cream sandwiches.
I wish we could say that we made these,
that would
because
be really
the
cool
faces
if we
look
made
so
them.
perfect.
These were bought at Target, but
Yes.
they are found in the park.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that it's very similar to the ones in the park. We just moved this week, so we've been under a lot of stress and busyness, so we didn't quite have the time to pick up necessary ingredients for more involved snacks.
Moving with a baby plus coming up with an actual Disney snack that we're going to create out of thin air like we normally do in a new kitchen. Yeah, exactly. Would have been the hardest thing. So we were in Target grabbing all of our essentials that we needed for this new place. We saw these and we're like, wouldn't that be great?
That's the one.
We're just going to pull them out of the freezer and just start on those. So
yeah, so the snack is an easy one. The drink right here
is actually an easy one as well, even though it's so delicious. We haven't tried these yet, but we have tried them in the park. So we don't know how well ours turned out. And it has been a while since we've had these in the park. But this is the magical star that you could get. The only place we've had them is the Storytellers Cafe at the Grand Californian. But as I was looking at this drink, you could actually find this drink in a lot of lounges across Disney World. So I saw the Animal Kingdom Lodge and a couple other different resorts. If there's a lounge there, they'll usually have this drink. So that's super, super exciting. Super easy. 3 ingredients. It's the X-rated fusion liquor, the Parrot Bay coconut rum, and then pineapple juice. So
and a light up ice cube.
Light up ice cube, which always brings the magical to the magical star.
It does. And I mean, the magical star name just went along with our theme tonight. So it seemed like the right choice for this evening's episode.
Yeah. And if you can't tell, we only had one really good light up ice cube. We bought these ones on Amazon. And these are freaking out.
Not quite as impressive.
Sometimes they'll just flash out of nowhere, and it's so. I think it's every time you touch it.
And they're only one color.
Oh, well, what is going on? I don't know. But this one looks beautiful. So grab one that gradually changes.
Grand Californian from
It
Storyteller
is,
Cafe.
yeah. So
this is the real thing.
Perfect that we're using this.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, it's great.
So
should we start with the snack?
Sure.
Let's do it before they melt away into.
They're already melting.
Oh man, this is gonna be messy, and we did not grab paper towels, so this is gonna be
real messy.
I'm just gonna grab an ear. I'm just gonna go for the ear. Oh man.
Always solid.
That cookies and cream. If you guys ever want to feel like you're on Main Street grabbing a Disney snack, just go to Target, make it easy on yourself.
They're Mickey shaped, so feels like you're
no cooking. I know some of our snacks that we make are pretty involved. Like especially, I think the craziest one was the mac and cheese cone from the Cozy Cone Motel. Pretty involved. So if you don't want to do the work, but you still want to feel like you're in the parks, go to Target.
Good choice.
Grab this ice cream sandwich here. That was so delicious.
Yeah.
So good. Next up is the drink, which I knew these were going to taste delicious because they're store-bought. Now these drinks,
I'm pretty sure that these are going to be delicious too.
I mean, it's literally like pineapple juice and really good tasting alcohol. You're going to have a great drink. Are you ready? Cheers. Boom. Oh man, so good.
That's refreshing.
Make sure when you make these drinks, you use the Parrot Bay rum because it's 90 proof, which means it's about 4 to 5% alcohol. I saw coconut rum. I was going to use the Malibu. That's only 20% alcohol. and that would have tasted
It would have been a very sweet drink. It's
So
already
sweet.
pretty sweet.
It's
but it
still
would've been-
sweet with that 45% alcohol rum. So do yourself a favor. Make sure you don't use Malibu for this one. Although I've used Malibu in the past for Disney drinks and it's been amazing. This one in particular, use something that's a little bit higher
A
proof.
little bit strong.
Because you need a little bit of a kick. If I used Malibu, this thing would have been like,
Straight sugar.
yeah, it would have been a what's it called, cavity just waiting to happen.
Well,
That is so good.
yeah, that is a good one.
Oh my gosh, that's probably like one of the best tasting ones we've had in a while.
It is. It's really
It's
good.
really tasty.
Disney news.
Yeah, so there has been a lot of Disney news since we were doing the move, and this is interesting because last week we had the interview with the Imagineer, which Sandra was so amazing.
So great.
We were so focused on the interview that we didn't announce some news that came out last week, like June 15th, when California is fully opening. They are going to be allowing guests from outside of California to come into the park. Capacity will be increasing around then. A lot of other news around that June 15th date. But since we were so focused on the interview, we didn't really talk about that. And now, by the time now, it's old news, but there's a lot of things happening every single day. But the one thing I wanted to touch upon, since we just watched it tonight, it was the opening ceremony for the Avengers Campus. And just wanted to do some quick thoughts on that. It was really, really awesome.
Really
I mean,
awesome.
we haven't seen an opening ceremony for a while. I think the last one I watched was the Star Wars one. But this was really cool. They had some of the cast come out. They showed like video walkthroughs of certain parts of the land, and it all looks absolutely amazing. I still, as I was watching it, I was like, I still wish they came out with a second ride
Yeah.
because, you know,
There's
don't
only
know.
one.
there's only one, and I was like, this one ride is very similar to Midway Mania. And then I was like, Star Wars Land, Galaxy's Edge, when that opened, they only opened with one ride, and that was very similar to Star Tours, although you had the component of actually manning the ship and everything. And so I know that Avengers Campus is going to evolve into something absolutely great. Although right now, I think a lot of people will probably walk in, experience the ride, have a lot of fun, experience the dining, the show, the Sanctum with Doctor Strange, all that stuff, and it's going to be absolutely amazing. But I really wish they had at least one more ride to open with, a thrill ride, which they are apparently working on with the Avengers ride. But all that to say, like the Spider-Man ride, we saw little snippets of it. And it does look pretty cool. It's not exactly like Midway Mania. It looks from the video footage that there's physical props and screens. And the cool thing about that ride is instead of pulling a blaster or whatever it is, you're actually using your hands to shoot webs. And I think that can't be captured via video because what you see with those 3D glasses are going to be
It's not what
showing,
you see.
webs coming out, I believe, from wherever you're shooting it. So that's going to be a really cool experience. But I mean, we just got to wait until Friday when this episode airs to see on-screen footage. And I'm really excited to see it. Some highlights from that opening ceremony. The one that stood out to me, the one that stood out to me was the Captain America introduction that was so moving, so cool that Anthony Mackie came out and then they announced that the new Captain America is going to be in the parks, and Anthony Mackie handed that shield over to the new, was Falcon, but now Captain America character, and that was such an emotional, cool moment.
Really awesome.
It was so cool. The other thing I noticed while I was watching it was they showed a lot of Iron Man. They showed a lot of that suit, the classic Iron Man suit. Jon Favreau came out and said, it's the mock, I forgot what number it is, but the original suit. So maybe it's just someone in that suit showcasing that off. I don't know who that is since Iron Man died, which is going to be crazy. And then we also saw some stunts, which are really cool. The Black Panther climbing up the building, which is super cool. And then also the first ever Stuntronic, Spider-Man flying and doing his flips from building to building. That was really, really cool to see. And I bet in person that's going to be the coolest thing ever. So I'm really, really excited to see that. But overall, I am so excited to go to Avengers Campus. And I'm really excited to see footage from people who get to go today when this episode announces. Releases. Yeah.
It's going to be exciting.
Yeah, it's going to be great. So should we jump in?
Yeah, let's get started on this episode.
Let's do it.
On our topic. Do you wanna kick us off here?
This drink is so good. I'm just keep going for it. All right. So as we were talking about this and discussing, there's lots of different theme parks, right? But Disneyland, Disney World, all the other Disney parks really stand out for a certain reason. And I know some theme parks are actually gaining, they're trying to gain traction, and I would say that they are gaining traction. Because a lot of these theme parks are thinking of the Disney model and modeling their theme parks after what Disney does. And because of that, they're putting out some top quality rides. And when I say this, I'm thinking Universal specifically. Yeah. They have Jurassic Park, Harry Potter, all these things, and they are very Disney immersive quality, which is pretty amazing. But I think one of the biggest factors that sets Disneyland apart from all these rides or all these other theme parks is that these are rides based on our childhood favorites. And yes, you could say, childhood favorites, Harry Potter, for instance. Yes, that's one thing. But these are childhood favorites from generation to generation to generation. Mm-hmm. And so that being, people in their 80s can go to the park and feel just as home as, people our age and people younger than us. Mm-hmm. It's not just a certain subset of people who grew up with something, in junior high or high school. These rides have been around for a very long time, and they're timeless movies, that people from all ages have experienced. And not only just the generation gap, but it's also the cultural gap, right? It's not just Americans watching this and loving it. Disney really expands all around the world. So I think that's why that's like one of the biggest factors is that it's rides that people have grown up with generationally, but also culturally. Mm-hmm. And I think that is a big factor for sure.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, every age can, like you said, find their home there. It's, it is timeless, and there's just so much about the lands and the rides that everyone of every age and race can love.
Yeah, totally. It's awesome. I think that's like the basis of what makes it so different. Like, if it wasn't for the movies, if Walt Disney hadn't put out these amazing films that really transcended generations and cultures and all that stuff, we wouldn't have such an amazing theme park. So I think that's kind of like that bottom line,
Mm-hmm. The next thing that we discussed is just that the lands themselves, the theming it's just perfect. I mean, every land within the park, you have Frontierland, Adventureland, Fantasyland, Tomorrowland, Main Street, all of them evoke a sense of childhood and places that we all would have imagined wanting to be as a kid.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
And I think we all feel that as we walk through those lands.
Yeah. Definitely.
It never gets old for me. Every time I'm in the park and go to each one of those lands, I feel like I'm there. And I feel like I'm a kid just basking in the immersion of it all, you know?
Yeah. I think that's so true, is that like each of those things, I think as we, you know, progress through the years, there's a time in our lives where we want to be an astronaut, or there's a time in our lives where we want to be a cowboy, or, you know, or adventure, you know, like someone going through the jungle and all this stuff, and exploring, right? And so all those things, and nowadays, you know, they do lands that are based off of movies, right? So Star Wars Land, Avengers, things like that. But I think the thing that sets Disneyland apart is that they had lands based off of just an idea that all of us had wanted to experience when we were younger. I mean, think about it. Even Main Street takes you back to this, you know, old-timey town that Walt grew up in. And so, you know, maybe 80-year-olds don't really connect as much with like Adventureland or New Orleans Square, but they'll connect with Main Street because it's something that they grew up with back then. Hearing that music, seeing the old shops, all this stuff. There's something for everyone to love in Disneyland. In each of the lands, you feel like you're transported into something new that you have wanted to be a part of, you know, when you're growing up. And I think that's so special to the lands in Disneyland.
And as you were saying that, I was reminded of a memory when I was talking with my grandfather years ago. He and my grandma loved Disneyland. And he always loved the little like Coca-Cola shop right at the end of Main Street on the left. He loved getting like a snack there and then watching, there was like a guy on a piano that used to be right outside of it. So he always loved like getting a snack and then watching this guy on the piano. And I remember him telling me about that. So every time I see that, I think about my grandpa.
Yeah. And it's something so basic that, you know, some people might be like, oh, why would you want to experience that when you could experience, you know, adventure and futuristic and all this stuff? But that's the beauty of it, is that there's something for everyone.
Special, and yeah, it's
to love.
Exactly. And like, yeah, I have a lot of other things that are special to me there, but that's something I'll always think about because it's a tie to my grandpa.
Yeah, yeah.
So.
And that just goes back to that generationally, you know, appealing to all the different generations.
For everyone.
Oh, that's so awesome. And so the third thing we talked about, and I did just mention it a little bit, music. I think the music is so important. And I know a lot of other theme parks do this now as well, but I think Disney has always done this so perfectly. No matter what land you go into,
even outside of the park,
the Esplanade,
or walking in,
they're like already triggering
the entrance,
that those memories that you have. I know when sometimes we've been to the park, but we're just down there to visit family or something, so we can't actually go into the park, but we'll visit Downtown Disney and the Esplanade and all that stuff. Even just being in the Esplanade and hearing the music brings me back to a memory I had when I was a kid, watching a certain movie or visiting the park, doing all this stuff. Like, they are able to get you into, they're like tapping into your memories and tapping into your childhood way before you even step foot into the park with music. That's really the only thing that they could use, right? Like, you're seeing Downtown Disney and you're seeing all these buildings. Everywhere has buildings, but the music, you'll hear something and you'll be like, oh wow, that really like brings me back to this and that. And I think music is done so perfectly in the parks, where as you're transitioning to a land, you hear that music slightly change and you're just transported there. Maybe you're not even thinking about the music, but in the background,
notice the change of
you don't notice the change. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, I love these bongos in Adventureland. And you're like, wait, when did that even happen? You don't recognize it because it's seamless. Yeah.
And it just enhances the immersion.
Yeah.
Wherever you are. I mean, it makes you feel like you're there.
And also the lack of music sometimes too. Like Disney knows where to pull back, right? Like for example, Pandora. There's not a lot of music in there because you're hearing. It's supposed to be like you're in that world, right? So you'll hear, instead of music, you'll hear animal sounds.
Mm-hmm.
You'll hear weird things that you're not really used to hearing. Also, Galaxy's Edge. There's no music while you walk into the land, because it's supposed to be like you're there. If you're actually in a place, you're not going to be hearing music, right? And they'll play that in the rides and everything to enhance your experience. But when you're there, you'll hear ships flying overhead. You'll hear, like footsteps or whatever, because it sounds like there's a creature walking by you. So they know when to add it and when to pull back.
The next thing that we have is the sense. So I guess kind of what we're tapping into here is all of the senses. I was just thinking about that. Disney taps into all of your senses.
Seriously.
The sights, the sounds, the smells. Everything is awakened.
Oh yeah.
In Disney.
For sure.
So, I mean, walking down Main Street, getting the whiffs of all the baked goods or, the kettle corn or cotton candy or whatever that's in those shops along Main Street. You got that. You've got the Pirates of the Caribbean smell. I mean, everywhere you go, the scents are just perfect. And they go with wherever you are as well.
Yeah.
And, theme parks or fairs, like, it's just different. I mean, there's, smell of like grease or something when you're at the fair. Like, I mean, it's
sometimes it's a good smell, but then you smell it for 1 second too long and you're like, oh,
and suddenly you feel sick. Yeah. I mean, Disney just knows how to do it in the right way where it's like the perfect amount just to get you like, what is that? Like, it just makes you happy and excited. I think that's a huge one.
Yeah, and even when you think about the sense, Disney will, as we know, will pump out scents into the park sometimes. But even with that, it's not overbearing. It's literally like that.
And it doesn't smell
scent. You want it. You want it. You're like,
give me more.
Like cookies made like fresh. Like they do it in such a, even though they're like kind of producing that smell to like bring people into like a bakery or something like that. It done
works
subtly. Yeah, it's not like, oh, like who put the air freshener in here? It's like, oh, it smells so literally real. Like, oh, it's so perfect. Yeah. And then also since it's been there for a long time, you got, Pirates Splash. A lot of the dark rides having that almost like musty smell, but a good musty smell that will transport you. I mean, I really rely on music and scents, and like smelling something will just bring me back. Like it transports you back to a time. And I think that's something that Disneyland has since it's been around for such a long time. That is just perfect. I mean, it's like, man, they just work it so well.
They're so good at that. Yeah,
it's so perfect.
I'll always remember, like, from my first trips to the park, I think it's the smell of kettle corn. Like sometimes you pass by the carts and it's just this like perfectly sweet scent. I just like associate that smell with Disneyland. Like every time I go back, I have to walk past this one area that I know it's gonna be there, and I'm just like soaking it in. I'm like, remember the smell, like for when you leave. The smells are great, and they differ depending on the land. Oh, it's so perfect. Yeah, it's so great.
Yeah. Our next one we have is the cast members. I think cast members really make or break a theme park, and like I've mentioned before, I think other theme parks are finally catching on to this, but almost like, going back to Walt and Lillian, she was like, why would you ever build a theme park? They're nasty, they're gross. And I think hand in hand with that, the cast members don't care about you. Like they weren't even called cast members. The the seasonal employee. I don't know.
Yeah.
But the employee, like the people who are just there to make sure like
That's a job.
nothing wrong happens and all this stuff, right? And that's why Disney named them cast members. They're a part of the experience. It's not just, I come through the line, like, you know, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They are there to enhance your experience. And I've been to some theme parks where the cast members are not really involved. They're just like, okay, just like do what you want to do. I'm just here to like clean and you know, make sure no one gets in trouble or something like that. And the experience totally changes. It's like, like what is going on with this? And then you go to Disneyland or Disney World, and
they're so involved.
They're there. Not only are they, you know, involved in helping your experience and being kind and acting with the, you know, acting with the theme and all that stuff, but they're also really good at holding up Walt's values, right? Like cleanliness. Like they'll see something on the street and they won't just turn a blind eye. Like they'll clean it up. They'll make sure the park is just looking as best as it can. Everything about the cast members are absolutely amazing. So if you're a cast member and you're literally just picking up trash, your agenda and changing things out, know that you are literally adding to the experience.
Yeah.
Because
the magic.
If you go to a theme park and it's dirty, there's things thrown on the floor or whatever, man, your whole trip is just changed. And so even if you're picking up trash off the floor, that is like probably one of the most crucial things to Walt's vision of a theme park.
Exactly.
And no cast member position is too big or too small. And
yeah, it's true.
Major props to the Disney cast members because they are
they're
great.
So good. I mean, whether it's on a ride and they're getting like super into character and making you feel like you're in that zone of that ride, or whether you're trying to find your way around the park and need directions or whatever it is, like I've had so many experiences with Disney cast members that has just like made my entire day. When we got engaged,
great, yeah.
When we got engaged, we were there, you know, in the park for a few days, and we're wearing our little pins, you know, just engaged or whatever. And a cast member was chatting with us and was like, "Oh, you know, congratulations! Like, what's your favorite ride?" Ended up giving us like passes to our favorite ride so we could just get on it, you know?
Yeah.
Random little acts like that you're just like, what? You didn't have to do that. Like, that was just so kind. And it just makes it all the more magical. One night we were leaving the park. This was more recent than that, I think, if I recall. And the park was closing and a ton of cast members had like lined Main Street facing each other. And they were like, letting people run through and high-fiving them as they came through. And it was just like, it was so cute and fun. And I loved it.
Yeah. And it's very rare that you see a cast member acting bored with their job. And I think that is
they love it.
So great because I think it's instilled in them that they are literally a part of the experience. And man, it really is that cast members can make or break an experience, and man, does
they
Disney
always make it.
Cast members always make it. Yeah,
it's true. It's true.
So great.
Yep. So our next item on the list is, we kind of touched on this already, but just being able to feel the magic, no matter your age, no matter how old you are, where you're from, what your background is, doesn't matter. I think everyone can feel that magic. I mean, there's people that travel from all over the world to come to Disney parks. So that's proof that no matter who you are, what part of the world you're from, you know that there's something special about a place when there's people coming from all over the world to come to it. I mean, maybe Universal and like, you know, Six Flags and places like that have a lot of visitors, but I don't think they'll ever have quite the amount of visitors from around the world that Disney parks do.
Yeah, I totally feel you. And I know when we're 80-year-old people, we're going to find something that we just absolutely love and have, will bring us back to a time when we were, 22, getting engaged at Disneyland or something like that. And then our grandchildren, or maybe even great grandchildren, will be in the park enjoying it just as much as we are. And I'm not sure I could say that about other theme parks. There's just some sort of aura about Disney that it transcends. I think I keep thinking about the word transcends, but it really does. And I think that goes back to our first point, is that, a lot of the lands and the rides and all that stuff and the experiences, the characters and all this stuff are based off of timeless classics that no one could really beat. And that goes back to Walt Disney, right? That he said, hey, I'm going to make a feature length animated film. I'm going to break boundaries. I'm going to, use this character, Mickey Mouse, and create shorts, and people fell in love with him and all this stuff. He did crazy things back in the day that stood out to our grandparents' generations and maybe even great-grandparents' generations. And because of that, it has woven a thread from Mickey Mouse to Cinderella to, Moana, you know? And that will always be there because of the Disney name. And because of that Disney name, there's always going to be something that people will find enjoyable about the parks.
It's true.
And it's so awesome.
And it's my favorite thing to be in the park and see a family trip with the grandparents and their kids and then their kids just enjoying it all together. It's so special, and it's just proof that every age loves it.
Yeah.
And can always find their magic there. I love it. And I can't wait till we can bring our little boy there. We're trying to plan for later this year, and it's going to be his first time. So I'm really excited.
It's going to be great. Yeah, we're so excited for his grandparents to go as well.
Yes.
Oh, man, it's going to be great. It's going to be perfect.
Fun.
And then the last thing we thought of, and there's really so many things. There's so many things that can have Disney parks, stand out from the rest. But these were just the ones that really came to mind. And so this last one is that it all comes down to Walt's essence, right? Yeah. Walt wanted to start a theme park to be a place where not only kids could have fun, but families, the parents could have fun as well. It's not this, you're sitting down on a bench like he did when his kids were on a merry-go-round. It's not just you're watching them have fun, you're just waiting till they're done and then you're going to go home. No, you're experiencing these things together, right? He had that in mind. He also had the, cleanliness in mind. Also just the ideals of, instilling childlike wonder in everyone, no matter how old you are. And so all these things are still relevant and in the parks today, that magic and everything. And
it's still the goal of everyone there, cast members, to keep that dream alive.
Exactly, yeah.
You can see it everywhere you go that Walt's imprint is left there.
Exactly.
I mean, it's everywhere you look, Walt is there, I think.
Yeah.
He left so many details too. It's all so intricate. The park is it's like a big, puzzle, I guess. Like there's hidden Mickeys, there's little hidden things to find all throughout the park. And I think that's so special, and I think it just shows how much he put into it and what he wanted for the park. He wanted it to just be a place of fun for everyone.
Yeah, and you talking about details reminds me of in the Imagineering story on Disney Plus, they talk about Walt's, and I never heard about this until the Imagineering story, but
Yeah, me
Walt's
neither.
4 levels of details. You know, you could just make something look good, and not put the effort into it, and maybe people will be like, "Oh, okay, that looks good from afar," but you know, when you get up close, you can tell it's not actually here. You know, it's not actually real and all that stuff. Walt's 4 levels of details was this: you see, you know, you're looking over a hill into the town square. You see like the church steeple there. You see a couple of buildings and all that stuff. That's one detail. You see things from afar, right? Now, the second level of detail is you're on that street. You're actually in the town square. You're seeing what you saw from afar, and it looks great. You see more things up close, and you're like, okay, like I'm actually in that town, right? The third level of detail was you're actually looking at the buildings and seeing that they're not just a set piece. You know, they're actually made with real materials. It looks like, you know, they're either made of brick or they're made of I'm not a builder. Plaster? I don't know. They're actually made of real stuff. Whatever buildings are made of. You know, it's that real stuff. And then the fourth level of detail is not only they're not set pieces and they're made out of, you know, real material, but you could go up to a door handle and actually grab it and move it. It's not just something that's just tacked onto the wall. Mm-hmm. You could feel that it's a different material than the building. It's like brass or gold or whatever door knockers are made of. And you could feel it and move it and actually use it. And that's the level of detail that Walt wanted everywhere. You could go up and feel if there's a door handle, it's a real door handle. Mm-hmm. You could feel it. You could actually, you know, do whatever you see. You actually go up and it's going to be real. Yeah. And that is so cool. When I heard that in the Imagineering story, I'm like, that's what sets it apart. That's it right there. The details. His essence still in the park. And they didn't stray from it. They weren't like, hey, we could cut corners to lower costs and bring more profit or whatever. They said, hey, no matter what, we're going to keep this stream alive. We're going to make sure that even if it costs more to be as detailed and as clean or whatever the case may be, we're going to make sure that it happens, because that is what brings people to the park. Is all these little things that might cost more to go that extra mile, but it's going to draw people in because people can see that difference. Yeah, they feel that magic. Yeah. And yeah, it's what Walt wanted. He wanted it to feel real and authentic, and it is. Yeah. And he had that vision, and just the way of seeing his vision and seeing it not tarnished. Like, thinking about him starting it in 55, it could have been tarnished so much, you know, over the 65 years, 70, something like that. It could have been tarnished over all that time, but for the most part, like, they have kept straight up onto those ideals that he's had from the beginning. Yeah, and it's awesome. And I've always been curious and wondered what would be Walt's opinion of the park now. You know, I would love to see what he would think about what they've done with this park. Yeah. In these years since he passed. And honestly, I think he would be so impressed that, you know, so he died in 66. Yeah, 66. Math is really fun. Or 40, 56, 40, 50, 60 years, you know, something like that. After he died, and they still have kept a lot of those classic attractions, all of the classic lands, and they have expanded, which Walt did say Disneyland will never be complete, you know, keep growing. And he even talked about that, right? Like he said, when I finished Snow White and I put it to the movie studio for distribution, that's it. You can't change anything about it. Disneyland is this ever growing ever evolving, changing park. And so, yeah, I think even with Star Wars and Avengers, I think that he would have seen that little kids nowadays, really find their heroes and Avengers in Star Wars or whatever the case may be, and that they look at that and that evokes a sense of joy in them. And so I think him saying that we built lands to tap into those kids' heroic, mindset would have been so exciting for him.
Mm-hmm.
And so
it's true.
It's so cool. And I think that Disneyland has done such a great job at that in world. And so, yeah, it just makes me happy that they have kept that.
Me too. Yeah. I don't think it'll ever lose that sense of magic, honestly. I think Walt is so instilled in that place, and the people that run Disney now want to hold true to what his ideals were,
Yeah, it all comes back to that vision.
So I think it's always going to be that way, and it's our dream to one day be 80-year-olds working the ticket booth together, or
that's literally
those little elderly cute people that are just super sweet and that they love it as much as you do.
I know. I feel like some people just dream about, I just want to retire on a beach and just like not have human contact. And we're like, I want to be 80 years old and accept tickets to Disneyland and just be like that old person where people are like, oh, that's cute. I feel like we'll be that person.
That might be us.
It'll be great. We're going to retire and work at Disneyland. I'm so ready. Maybe there'll be like a Marvel old person superhero by that time and I could play him. Or her. You could play.
Yeah, we'll see.
It'll be good. If they don't, then we'll just be ticket people.
Or something.
Actually, I can see myself in one of those. Is it Thunder Mountain that has like the shorts? Like it's like a cool frontier thing, but they also have like these like kind of funky shorts on. I feel like it could be an 80-year-old like funky short like Thunder Mountain.
I like that. I could see that.
Yeah, me and you could work it together.
Yeah.
Even though we won't be able to ride it because our bodies will be so brittle.
I don't think we could get slung around like that anymore.
Yeah.
Although my grandma did. I have a photo of it, and I have a picture of her with her arms up. And it's like a blurry photo because it was in mid swing at the time.
We could probably do Thunder. We probably couldn't do Matterhorn.
Yeah. Matterhorn.
Oh man, I can't even do Matterhorn nowadays. Just kidding.
Can't imagine 50 years or so.
But yeah, we're diehards. We're gonna make sure we're 80-year-old ticket people by that time, and we're so excited to. Yeah. If you're watching this in 20.
Yeah,
another math thing. 2060
years from now.
That sounds good. That sounds right. Like 2060. Yeah. You'll see us in the parks. Say hello to us.
Yeah. Watch out for his faces.
Plus 60 years. Yeah. Just kidding. But thank you guys so much for watching episode 11. I can't believe it. Episode 11, we took one break. Even though we did this move this weekend, we still brought another episode to you guys. Happen. Look how much we love you guys. We actually brought boxes in on Saturday. And now it's Wednesday and we're still doing it for you guys. So I'm pretty impressed with us. Let's go. Thank you guys so much for following along on our journey, but also our journey with you guys as well as we do this podcast. And thank you guys so much, and we'll see you guys next week.
We'll see you next time, guys.
Thanks.